Hello, everyone. Elise Quevedo here. The last few weeks of 2024 are here, and what a year it has been for the energy sector. To have a chat on this topic, I am back with Edwin Diender, Chief Innovation and Consulting at the Electric Power Digitalization Business Unit of Huawei Enterprise. It's been a while, amigo. How are you today?
It's been a too long time, but I'm very well today, and thank you for having me on your show.
You're very welcome. Now, before we start, Edwin, I want to say thank you for your time over the years because as I was prepping for our chat, I realized that we've been doing this both in person and online for nearly 5 years. Now, something
Oh,
done as a quick video recap of one of your blogs has turned into this long-term collaboration between us. And as you have evolved in your professional journey as a global business leader and a chief innovation officer, we have continued to inspire people with the content of our chats, some which have actually been featured in conferences across the globe, which is very humbling. So here is to another 5 years, Edwin, creating even more powerful chats together to share with the world. So I just wanted to say a quick thank you.
thank you so much to you as well. Thank you so much to you as well. And happy anniversary then.
I know, right? 5 years, it just goes
Right.
so fast. So with
It
that
goes
said,
so fast.
let's begin with Gitex Dubai, which you just got back from. I wrote an article on transforming industries at Gitex Global 2024. I followed the event up closely, and one area that caught my eye was scalable energy data storage systems and solutions. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, the idea that we are moving into, so to speak, or that we're ramping up for, is that there is more and more data going on in the world as it is. There is another, I think it's called a meme, as you could say, or maybe like an adagio, perhaps, that says something like data is the new oil or data is the new gold. I actually wrote a blog where I'm trying to say data is like water. But besides that, so there's more and more data going on. In non-digital native industries, for example, like manufacturing, where a lot of digitization is being used in efficiency for daily operations, but also in an industry like electric power, where the world of operations and maybe electrical automation or mechanical automation, um, in combination with, let's say, data and computing networks and computing services, are still side by side. On the IT side of the equation, so where the IT management sits and where the IT teams are in an electric power company, their initiatives for cloudification, their platforms and systems and services that they have for data storage, data archiving, and data analytics, you could say is reasonably high up and follows the industry trend. But as the other side of this organization or as this industry domain, which is the OT, the operations side, are automating more, are digitizing further, and maybe even faster sometimes because they don't have to go through a learning curve and follow through from some risks because other examples already have done that. So they can accelerate faster and move higher up the value chain in a much shorter time frame. What we see in our solution stack for data storage, which already is very scalable and which is very high up in technically speaking in its own value chain. We've tried to see if we can bridge that and if we can bring it from feature and function and functionality and technicalities point of view and tailor it and cater it in such a way that it is also best fit for the massive amount of growth and the immense amount of data that is coming in more and more on the OT side of the equation. So that is the particular part that that it is about energy data. So it is data about energy, and that data converts into digits, if you like, zeros and ones, and that goes into a scalable platform because we have another adagio, and that says that the bit is driving the watt. So the more access you have to, the more easier it is to find your data, work with your data, and let your data work with you. is the topic where is the item where this particular topic taps into quite vastly and quite immensely, and we've seen a great uptake not only on interest, but also on implementation and in deployability and use cases. So if there's people out there who are listening to this and would like to know more about it, then by all means they're very welcome to reach out, because we got practical use cases up and running and live, not just fancy on PowerPoint slides, but in actual use.
Absolutely. And I think, Edwin, as we enter 2025, you guys are going to be getting more questions and more queries, because as we use more data, and especially the way the world is going on right now, we need to make sure that it's more sustainable. Now, during Gitex, you spoke about the application of AI in electric power and the latest in intelligent connectivity for power grids. Can you give us a summary of what AI means to electric power as we close 2024 and we enter 2025?
Well, tapping into another blog I wrote a long time ago already, which is about the 5 A's of AIs, in which not only myself, from my personal point of view, but also from a corporate point of view, the way we as an organization look at AI, it's to us it's not artificial, and to me it's also not artificial. So an A of AI is something, and maybe you remember this from our previous conversations back in Shanghai at one of the Huawei Connect flagship events, which at that time started as activate intelligence, almost like the brain of a child that is so full of potential, but it's waiting for input. And based on this input, it activates its intelligence. And from there, it can advance itself. So the other A of AI could be to advance intelligence once it is activated. And at some point, there are so many other A's that you can line up, from autonomous AI, accelerated again. That is where we are when it comes to AI. So if you look at how that would work for different industries, I think also in previous sessions that you and I had, and recordings that you and I made, I referenced a little bit about how AI can be used as, let's say, a more accurate eye, with a better and clearer and more precision vision than an electrical engineer that has to climb up a tower 100 or 120 meters for some power line inspection. If this would be an electrical engineer standing on the ground under such a tower, and would have maybe a drone with high definition camera and imaging enablement in it. We've spoke about that in our past, and that's still the case. But what we also find right now is that the AI component in automation, computer networks that are self-healing and sensing, and that are using AI enablement in the improvement of the construction of it, the deployment of it, of the usage of it, we find that component of AI also back into the automation of a power grid. It doesn't mean that the power grid itself is an automated network. It's still an electricity cable and an electricity infrastructure. But the systems and services around it are able to be automated and digitized in such a way that the function of AI also becomes applicable as well. So the application of AI in a power grid is not just for power line inspections, as I just mentioned it, but is also for having a lunar lander or a Mars rover kind of device that is by itself, because it has a camera on top, finding its way in the most safe and the most optimized way in these high voltage areas where it is super dangerous for electrical engineering teams to walk around for their inspections. And when they need to do that, they need to cut off the power. So that's a power dip, you could say. So instead of doing all that, you could have a lunar lander or Mars rover kind of device with a high definition camera on top as well. And it is capable of so many things as well. The first one, AI, is it can find its route. So autonomous driving, kind of, you could say, is activated here now in this case. It can also read digits from analog meters and gauges and that sort of thing, where normally speaking, a person needs to walk up to, write it down, maybe in very poor handwriting because it's the end of the day or it's windy or rainy or what have you. So having an AI engine that can take a picture of a certain item, and whatever is in that item can be read and can be translated into system language. So it creates automatically a report for it. Optical character recognition is an AI function that sits in here. And another thing that we're very proud of, and it also works very well, is how what we call an edge computing unit, which is sort of a combination of a smartphone that has an operating system and it runs different applications. It connects via the power line to different sensors, smart meters, and that sort of thing to collect all that data. But inside of it, the way to program it is almost, well, it's almost Chat GPT like. So in your own language, you have if you know how to chat with people, like in WhatsApp or all these chat messaging applications. If you know how to do that, you can type your message on a device, and it sends a message in text, your text, the way you speak or the way you write, to this platform, and it will convert it into a configuration or a setting, or it gives you an answer to something that you would like to get out of it. These are some practical examples of AI in a pretty straightforward way forward, I would say. Deeper in the network comes where 3D modeling, simulation, and where a platform itself is using all these kind of data sets, and from an AI enabling point of view is using AI with regards to further improvement, further advancement, and what have you.
Absolutely, Edwin. And I think what you've just given here is the perfect example to announce to a question that many people do is, oh, will AI take jobs? How can we transform from traditional and analog to this intelligent world? And Edwin right now has just described with these use cases examples of hybrid electric power, turning now AI, how we combine it. And it doesn't mean that we're destroying the past, that we're deleting human beings. We're literally bringing it together to make it better. This is what I always call the evolution of technology, the evolution
Oh, absolutely.
in traditional, right?
Well, that's a very good point indeed. But maybe I can give you another example with regards to the idea that AI or computing technology is going to take away jobs. The first one we have to recognize is that from the past until where we are today, digitization and computing innovations have actually been able to create more jobs than the ones that it took. But that's a general observation, or maybe not a nice observation. Let me give you another practical example in the electric power industry, how and where AI sits as a contributor to a workload. Imagine an electrical engineering team that gets a work order on a piece of paper that sits on a clipboard. And as they do their work, or they finish their work, they need to write down the key findings. They need to maybe write a few other things down. And maybe this is at the end of the day, it's a bit rainy, so handwriting is not that clear. It's a bit too fast. So imagine that domain. And it's very clear, right? We got a car, a group of people are driving to a certain workplace. They step out of the car, each of them does their work, and there is a work order on a clipboard, piece of paper, and there's a pen or a pencil. Now we're going to digitize this whole procedure. We're going to take a tablet. A tablet has or can have a similar look and feel as a clipboard. So it's not that far out of the comfort zone or the procedure that they already are used to work with. So it's not a clipboard with a piece of paper, but it has the same shape and size and maybe even the same weight as a clipboard, but it's a digital form. It's a tablet. And the look and feel, so the screen that you're looking at looks as a piece of paper. And the pen that you're holding is a digital pen. So you're still writing. So your whole procedure did not change at all. You still do what you always do. You are the electrical engineer. You got a work order, and you got a pen to write down your key findings and whatever you need to report on. With a digital pen on a digital piece of paper on a tablet that has the look and feel of a clipboard. As you write it, there's another AI engine that not only understands that your writing needs to get into a digital version of it, but there's also an AI engine that can translate your handwriting into system language, almost like Times New Roman or Arial or whatever you have in your Microsoft Word document. That means that the moment you click submit or the moment you close your application, it becomes readable for everybody who receives it. That means whatever you've just written down, someone doesn't need to ask someone else first, I'm sorry, can you read this? So the time that it takes to process all of this has been shortened tremendously. So a key example of how and where AI helps and how and where computing and digitization helps is what many people would say is we become more efficient in daily operations. But here's a good example of how it doesn't take away a job. It speeds up a process. It makes it more clear. It makes it more easy to work, and it creates a higher level of productivity. It takes away the time wasters, and that's very needed in electric power.
Wow,
We
this
have
is
goggles.
probably, Edwin, one of the best answers I've heard all year for anyone to understand how in the electric power and energy world you can use technology. Because we get into conversations where too much jargon is used, something I've been saying for 5 years and more. And this explanation, I think this will be a soundbite itself, because I swear I have not heard it in this concise and clear way. So once again, thank you for this, Edwin. And by the way, guys, Edwin also mentioned during his answers previous chats that we've had. When you head over to YouTube, I will link all the previous chats. They are always linked under each of our chats, always on YouTube. I think it's close to 20 chats over the years so far. So make sure you're there, because even the last one from Mobile World Congress, Intelligence Distribution Systems, if you want to know more about that, just click on that link. Now, this next question, Edwin, today, this is inspired by my own personal experience over the last few months with energy and gas. Now, I'm not the one normally to deal with suppliers and distributors, but I have had to do that the last few months, and it has taught me a lot about how far we still are from the right chain from supplier to customer when it comes to communication. So I have a newfound respect for people such as yourself in this domain, because I got very frustrated. So as you deal with both suppliers and customers, what would you say is needed to have a better journey between the supplier and customer in this new energyverse domain? And I mean this from a collaboration and understanding of methodology point of view, as this energyverse, a word he coined, by the way, continues to evolve.
Well, that's not an easy question to answer, to be honest, because the first thing that we need to recognize is that in the big picture of things and in the big scale of things, the item that you touch upon is a one-on-one almost. It is an individual consumer. It is a household, or it's a family or a family member, or it's a person living somewhere, and that person has maybe a very individual way and a very unique characteristic way of looking at lowering carbon footprints themselves, finding greener options to go forward, having a green living space. So they might look very much into partnerships with, for example, an energy provider or a partner in their green living journey. Smart living, smart home, green home, carbon neutral, the lowest on greenhouse gas emissions, and that sort of thing. So if an electric power company today is predominantly a supplier of electricity, however, there are examples where the electric power companies are changing. The CEO, Mr. Damawan Prasojo from PLN Indonesia, in many of his keynote speeches, including the ones that he has given at Huawei Connect, but also at Mobile World Congress and so on and so forth. He's very clear where he says, we as an electric power company, so his electric power company, has the ambition and aspires to be a partner in all of this. And to facilitate that, we need to have fiber to the home, which is technology. For enabling this, we need to have smart this and smart such and gadgets and wearable and all those kind of things, not only on person, not only in car or vehicles or transportation means, but also from a smart meter point of view, maybe intelligent power sockets and so on and so forth, smart lighting, your fridge, your oven and your microwave, all these things are playing a critical role in this. And as such, for electric power company, he says, in this aspiration, electricity then becomes a byproduct. And the critical factor to make this a success is that everyone needs to buy into this aspiration, has to become a partner within this aspiration. That changes the role of how people live, how people work, but also how people collaborate together, because the role today is from a supplier to a customer. Now, in the example that I just gave, if this would be you and I would be your supplier and you would be my customer, would you be comfortable if I continue to approach you as my customer? Or would you consider yourself not a customer anymore? And if you're not a customer anymore, what does that mean in the relationship that we have that previously was, I provide you with electricity. At the end of the month, I send you a bill and you pay me back for that. That's the relationship we have today. Versus our relationship needs to change in this particular way. And that comes to the point I'm trying to make, which is a little deeper and a little further, maybe also a little higher up. The whole mechanisms that we've been grown up in, that we have been taught, maybe even in business school, or maybe even in technical universities, or maybe even in experiences as we have a professional and personal career development or regular development. All these things are changing so fast that systems are not always able to speed up with that. So it sits with awareness, it sits with a huge amount of understanding, a mutual understanding, because out of that mutual understanding comes a next step in terms of working together, partnering together, collaborating together, bringing more people to the table, bringing more organizations on board, following all these big words of energy transition, carbon neutral, digital transformation, maybe diversity, but then in this particular case, diversity in energy sources. Maybe new energy sources are very difficult, but renewable or existing sources, and making an existing source a little greener in parallel of finding and waiting for the greenest energy source, all at the same time, is where we are now. That's where we are now. And kudos to you, and thank you as well for being part of this journey when it comes to creating the awareness for that, and getting the attention on the right topics in the right way going forward. Because it is also communications like this and information sharing like this and collaborations like this that are one of the enablers for all of this. Because
Absolutely.
the one for all and all for one does not exist.
Yeah,
Yet.
collaborations. We're always back to the same over the years. And I think we'll still talk about this 10 years from now, because without it, nothing moves forward. And my personal experience, this has been from August literally to today. I mean, behind the scenes, I've been sharing my stuff with you. But not only that, we're talking about a community. So it wasn't just myself going through this energy transition. And I was helping elderly people within a building, because the communication from the monopoly that the energy companies and distributors have are not passing on the message as the chain goes down. So by the time it goes to a customer, such as myself, and thanks to conversations with people like you or the tech journey that I've had for many years, I'm able to talk at a higher level with C-level, with customer service. But other people, I realized, they didn't know how. And as always, communication and education, because as we change to energy systems, it's still too new, from supplier to distributor to customer. And as I have been talking to all of them, oh my God, I think I grew gray hair just from the frustration of the conversations. But being able to focus on the solutions, not the problem. We always must focus on the solution. And this is why chats like this always work so well, because we're talking from different perspectives, different experiences. But when we bring it together, this is what we make the world understand. And this is why 5 years later, we are still doing these conversations, regardless of where we are in the world. So Edwin, my last question today, what is your biggest takeaway of the year so far when it comes to the evolution of energy applications across the world?
Threefold, I would say. The energy industry is moving very, very fastly higher up the value chain when it comes to digitization and when it comes to embarking on this digital journey. Another observation is that it still goes in a stop and go motion a little, which means it's very project driven still, with a clear beginning and a clear ending. It's not considered a journey, it's considered a project, which is very siloed, because the benefit you're creating is not really a benefit. You are basically automating or digitizing something physical that already was a silo. So now you have a digital version of that silo, which I don't think scales much. And the third one, the gap, the knowledge gap, but also the talent gap with regards to the need for, let's say, more digital and more computing and more communication kind of knowledge packs, if I can put it like that, into let's say curriculum at technical universities for electrical engineers, for example. If we are educating today from a technical university point of view, electrical engineers to become a site manager or the manager of a power plant or the CEO or an MD of an energy company or an electric power company, I find, and I would urge the industry to have a strong look at least embed some digital, some digitization, some computing and communication and mobility sort of curriculum into a sort of knowledge packs into that curriculum, and the other way around as well. If there is master degree students in certain MBA tracks or in financial or accounting who eventually would become the CFO of an electric power company, it makes very much sense to have their inputs embedded into more digital, so to speak, and not just digital from a financial and from an accounting platform or principle point of view, but also with regards to how and in what way things are able to be monetized, blockchain kind of, maybe even carbon credit and that sort of thing. So those are the three main takeaways that I see as circles that tie into each other, or waves basically that clash into each other, and that eventually merge and create a new wave of innovation, I would say, because eventually where we need to be is in a much greener, much more carbon neutral, much more net zero, and also from an energy point of view, a much more inclusive environment. And I would say 2024 for me has been proven to be a year where we're not all just aware of it, but there already are many examples, good examples, practical examples that are up and running with regards to the programs and the initiatives that are driving all of this.
Absolutely. And although we've come very far, we definitely have a long way to go. But this is what I like, exploring innovation and always moving forward and looking at bettering the solutions. In your own words, Edwin, if I remember correctly, doing better what we already do best. Right. So, Edwin, thank you for your time. As always, make sure you follow him for more insights. The link will be on the description. The handle is showing up above right now. And let's remember, exploring innovation, meeting industry giants, unlocking opportunities, and creating new partnerships is what this tech world is all about. I'm Elise Quevedo. See you next time. Thank you, Edwin.